Butch and I, we're both over 30 now, and where has the time gone?
Just over 30. How concerned are you about the state of the nation, the state of the city, the state of the community? How do you now look at the world as rising adults and make a decision about how you get involved and what your, as they say, what your politics are? What do you choose? How do you get involved, or do you get involved?
I went to Howard, and they're like a very activist school. So we were already out in the streets with the whole Black Lives Matter thing, especially when I can't remember who it was, but there's so many names, but somebody had passed and we were out in the streets protesting for that. And just getting a glimpse of that and seeing how people organized and seeing how people made changes from the grassroots all the way up until something happened. And pretty much that's how I want to take that same approach with Chester, because I see that we have room to grow, obviously, plenty of time and opportunity to build a better economy, bring more jobs into the community, and give kids more opportunities to, make a positive impact in their city. Just one small problem we see is the trash. People saw the trash, they would take pictures of it, they would call out their politicians. And then there was somebody who was like, let's just clean it up ourselves. And from there, they began city cleanups, and then it was supported by the city. So it's really just trying to take that first step.
I see what's going on in the nation, and it's very disheartening. But I definitely have hope. But where I get started is in my own city, because I can see from me being a child how things are different now. We have more activities. We used to have parades. Now we really can't have that because kids don't want to be a part. Simply just don't want to be a part. They lack motivation. So where I am right now, I have an advantage. I feel like, because I work firsthand with those kids, where I can simply, get to know them and what they like to do, and let them know that it's more than just, simply just making money for yourself, but because they're big on making money now, which is great. Have your own money, save it up, but there's more to just going to work and coming back home and sleeping and doing that over again, but actually getting involved, going to Zenos and Kudos, getting into that. I don't know how they're doing. I wasn't a part, unfortunately. I wanted to be, but there were so many activities when we were younger and when we were their age that they either don't know about or we don't have anymore. So just taking a step up to even making those opportunities happen again.
It's a little refreshing to hear you talk about like back in the day, which for you is like 5 years ago. Imagine how we feel. We have to think back that that's like decades for us. So even a shorter period of time, things change quickly. That's the world we're in now. That a blink of an eye, and you're on to the next trend, next generation. So high school, we talked about college. So you're all working stiffs now. You want to shed any light on that that you think would be beneficial for aspiring workers to hear? Aspiring workers from Chester, that is. I'm going to actually ask Gyanni first. So she's working for a big shot financial firm out of a big city, Philly. How did you get your foot in the door there?
So I actually got my foot in the door through a conference, the NABA conference, which is the National Association of Black Accountants. And luckily for me, my uncle is an accountant, and he also works at a big four. So he told me about the conference. And I honestly didn't think I was going to go because I was going by myself. So I was like really scared. But I went, and I ended up being able to go to a career fair where I could just interview with all of these different accounting firms. So from the fair, I picked five. I picked three big four companies and then two smaller firms. I interviewed at the conference. And from the interview, because this was like a whole like East Coast conference, from the interview, I interviewed with someone from Boston, and they were like, "Well, which office do you want to work in?" And I was like, "Well, I live close to Philly." And they're like, "Which one do you want to work in?" And I was like, "I can work anywhere." And they're like, "Where do you want to work?" And I was like, "Okay, in Philly." So I set up an interview at the Philly office, and after two more interviews, I got an internship. So I interned my junior year, and the internship was purely just for fun, for you to get a feel for the office. I didn't do much work. And the thing they kept stressing to us was it's about how you mesh with the team. It's not about the technical stuff, because the stuff you're learning in college, truthfully, doesn't really apply in industry or when you're out in the field. So I ended up getting an offer after the end of my internship, and then I started working right after graduation.
And that was what year?
I started working in 2020, so June 2020.
So in the midst of COVID.
Yes.
So you've never seen your colleagues without a mask on?
Well, I got to see everyone as an intern, and that's one thing I'm grateful for because I got to be in the office, I got to meet everyone. Um, of course, there's a bunch of new people, new hires, but I kind of got to make those relationships as an intern. And then when I came back as a new hire, it kind of was like revisiting. It wasn't like all fresh.
Chris, you're on to law school now, but between graduating and that, you've been in the work world?
Yes. Actually, something that hasn't been relative to my degree, actually. So I graduated with a degree in political science, but immediately after graduation, I started working for HelloFresh in sales. Immediately followed up by One Main Financial, and I stayed in that financial sector for about a year and a half. And then I recently got offered a position with Citibank earlier this year, and that's currently who I'm working for now as a just an intermediate loan operations specialist, pretty much.
As far as leadership is concerned, a lot of the times we want to look at, who's the president, who's the mayor, who's this, who's that. And I think realistically, um, the president and the mayor, they can influence things on a national scale or a local scale. But I think when it comes down to the individual, we're not connected to these people. We're not having one-on-one conversations, and we're not really eating off their plates. I think I think of leadership, especially like in my life, it's those people that are in your community, your teachers, your neighbors, the people that are showing you things um, that are admirable, things that really help influence who you are as a person. Because when we look at things on a large scale, yes, there are so many problems, there are so many things that need to be done, but we have to start somewhere. And it doesn't just start in Washington. It starts in Chester. It starts on 21st Street. It starts on 23rd. Like it starts at home. So I think a lot of times we say, oh, our mayor's not doing this or our president's not doing this and this isn't being done. But some of the stuff starts at home.
I would have to completely agree. If there's no like base or like if there's no support from the bottom up, you start with those leaders in our community. If we don't have their support, then we can never get the support of those above us, like our council members, our mayor, and begin creating bigger change than just in our local communities. I guess that's really a challenge because I can't speak for everyone, but I know for my group of friends and the people I talk to, they're not too interested politically in everything that's going on in Chester because like all the hot topics, like race issues and different things like that, we don't have that in our community. Like we have education issues and maybe money mismanagement issues and things like that that people aren't that interested in. So I guess my thing is, how do we really get our community more interested in, I guess, the quote unquote boring political topics?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with both Chris and Gianni about ultimately it comes down to community. The saying is it takes a village to raise a child, but it literally takes a village to build up a community. So I really believe that the community has to come together, because one person against a whole community, it's the community has more power. So just like Gianni was saying. So yeah, I agree with both.
You are three successful products of the Chester public education system. Right now, the Chester public education system is going through some stuff. They're in a transitional period, it looks like, and they're having to make some hard decisions about their future direction. You successfully went through their system. Do you have any thoughts, any recommendations? Do people need to be concerned about anything? Is it an it ain't broke and don't need to be fixed situation, or do people at, as you have said, at the ground level of the community, is it a time where people should be banding together to call for change or a different way of doing things?
Oh, go ahead.
I believe I want to say to the parents to get educated on what's going on. As a teacher, there's a lot of things that seem like they really don't care, or they are very ignorant to what's going on in the educational system in Chester Upland School District. So it's really up to the parents. We just talked about community. So if the parents get together and fight for their school district, then we could move forward and have our school district.
Yeah, I would definitely say this is a serious issue, something that people really need to be paying attention to a lot more, because we're literally watching corporations and charter schools bid for the schools in our city that can dictate how our kids learn for the next 20, 30, maybe even the next 100 years. So, and whatever these corporations or these charter schools are going to be teaching these children, that's what they're going to be applying to real life. So we need to be really paying attention and taking a closer look at what these charter schools are going to be bringing into our community, what they're going to be able to offer not only our kids, but what are they going to be doing to help benefit our community, so we can begin to make positive changes, see better test scores, and actually see progressive change as far as education goes in Chester.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what both Chris and Daija said. And just piggybacking off of what Daija said, I definitely think that parents should be more involved, because I think, for me, if my parents weren't as involved, I probably would not have done as well. And I think, in Chester Upland, we have this idea that, well, we don't have the opportunities, we don't have the resources, we don't this, we don't that. And we may not, but they are there. And just because, the district may not be presenting them, they are there and we can get them to our kids. So, with or without the school district or their leadership, I think, parents should be more involved and very conscious in making an effort to give their kids certain opportunities.